Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about keeping accipiters inside of your house, of your domicile. And I know that could be very different depending on where you live. There's all kinds of houses and apartments and different situations. I live here in the United States, in Utah, and the accipiters we're normally flying are goshawks, which are the largest accipiters, Cooper's hawks, which are kind of the in-between size, and in my opinion, the most difficult to train properly without making mistakes, and then the sharp-shinned hawk, which is the smallest. But there's a number of accipiters all over the world, and I understand this is a worldwide audience, and people will have different thoughts and opinions. But here's what happened. As we've been showing some accipiter videos, my friend John and I have had a lot of discussions, and he mentioned that many people are asking, since his new sharp-shinned hawk has been featured in several videos, people have been reaching out and asking, hey, what's your setup? Well, the thing about that situation is that his setup is not his permanent setup. He's had a baby, an Ias, that he has been raising, and it's kind of had free range of the house. He's had sort of a setup where it can be compartmentalized and safe like a nest and then come out, run around. But now he's getting to the time where he will be having his official setup, and it's an indoor setup. So this video, we're going to show his setup, and I'm going to let him talk a little bit about it and why it works so well. There are many ways to have an accipiter indoors. There's all kinds of perching, housing situations that work. We're going to show you one that works very well. But before we do, I want to talk about what's the pluses and minuses of doing this. Of course, birds, most people have a mew that they keep it in outside, or some sort of a flight chamber, a weathering area, something outside. If you have your accipiter inside, then the best and most important thing that you're gaining, in my opinion, during the hunting season is weight management, precision weight management. In the fall and winter, temperatures can fluctuate all over the place, and that impacts the caloric burn rate of your bird. So you might have a bird that you're like, okay, they're this weight, and by hunting time tomorrow, they should be at this weight. And then there was a cold snap overnight, and at hunting time, they're down here, and you're like, no, that's not going to work. If you control the temperature, you control the weight management precisely. And so that is, in my opinion, a huge win for keeping an accipiter indoors. Now, the other thing that I think you really gain a lot of is the social time. If your bird is just all the time seeing you and your family or whoever's there, seeing TV, there's all this social time that vitally does not involve food. So not only are you going to have a friendlier bird that's just used to people and commotion, but they are also associating you less with food. So it's like, I live here, these people live here, we hang out together. When it's time to hunt, we go out and we go to where we're going to hunt, and I go kill stuff. That aggression and food-related thinking is directed only at prey, and it has nothing to do with the home. That's great. It's a great way to do it. And you think about it from the bird's point of view, okay? You understand, you're controlling the name of the game. You're controlling, well, I'm training this bird, and here are my goals, and we're going to hunt these prey species, and here's the fields we're going to go to. Here's the equipment I'm going to use. Bird doesn't know that. It doesn't speak your language. It's just, if it's outside in a mew, it might as well be in a forest. I'm just kind of in this forest, and then some weird bipedal mammal comes into the forest and like, hey, let's go, we're going to go somewhere else now. And I'm like, okay, there's something, go hunt it. Oh, okay. And then he takes me back to the forest where we started. That's weird. Obviously, raptors do fine with that, but the principle, if you're cohabitating always together, the more you can be with your bird in non-food related ways, the more of a joy falconry is going to be. The more trusting they are, the more calm they are, the more predictable, the more you can read each other. And it's just fun. It's just nice to have your bird with you. So those are kind of my main reasons. Again, the weight management aspect, precision weight management, especially during the cold months, but also to have a rich plethora of non-food related social time. Okay. So what about the bad things? What do you have to watch for? Well, of course, one of the biggies is poop and cleanliness. Accipiters do what's called slicing, which is they usually don't poop straight down. They usually shoot out. You have to factor that in. Whatever setup you're going to do, you have to come up with a way that you can keep them clean, keep the smell at bay, and keep things safe. So that's the first thing. You have to factor in, are you ever going to feed them inside? You start feeding an accipiter where you are perching them, that becomes territory. They're going to be aggressive. So you have to commit to the fact that if they're perching here inside your house, even if it's not hunting season, if you're going to feed them, you got to take them out, feed them somewhere else. But I apply that same principle in a mew as well with accipiters. So it's 6s on that. You have to be religious and dutiful watching the equipment. I bring this up. You always have to anyways. All raptors are comparatively delicate. Accipiters especially, their feathers, their legs are insanely delicate. But that's true with outside equipment as well. The reason I bring it up as an indoor issue is a lot of the rigs, a lot of the setups, a lot of the indoor perch designs are different than what you would use outside. So you have to keep a vigilant eye, ever wary and anticipating any issue that could happen. If you see that you need to lengthen the leash or shorten the leash a little based off of how they're jumping, if they jump and is the tail going through the leash, you have to watch all this. But that's doable. If you're going to have an accipiter inside, you still have to figure that, okay? So we're going to take a look now at the setup that John uses. He's used this for Cooper's hawks. This is his first sharp-shinned hawk, and so he's built a new version of it. And remember, key is he has raised this bird entirely in a different part of the house, and every meal for this bird has been outside in a front yard where he's never going to be normally perching his bird or hunting his bird. So all the food-related aggression and territoriality are outdoors, and all his nest-related thinking of like, where am I growing up, has been in a room that he's not going to live. Now the bird is basically hard-penned, the feathers are fully grown in, so he has this setup that he's going to have in a different part of the house where he likes to work, and that the bird can still be very social, but he's not going to be feeding here. So let's take a look at this design. I think it works really well, and it's definitely worth seeing.
After mentioning this perch on Ben's podcast, the Falconry Podcast, I had been telling people that I had a perch that was designed to manage the poop from accipiters. And this is the perch. I completed it because my Sharpie is ready to be put on his perch. The way that this is all set up, I actually created it for a bird as big as a goss. And it uses kind of a similar setup that you would see with a screen perch. So it's a very tall 2x6 with a dowel. You can see a dowel here on top. And this used to be much longer, and it used to be for 2 birds, so there was a divider in between. But I have since shrunk it for a single bird, and I put a V here so that I could insert this piece. Now this is something I welded myself. I used 2 strips of metal like this, and then a ring which I cut in the center, and then welded here with another welded ring inside. So this can go on either side, helps to prevent tangling, and then I tie my leash to this ring. And then because it's an accipiter, I have used a marine knot to knot in some bungee cord at the end. And then I have a swivel and a coast lock. I really like coast locks. If you don't like them, don't use them. Then the back. Now this is the part that is the poop control. If you can see right up there, there is a grommet with a screw through it. There's another one on that corner and another one on that corner. When those screws are removed, and then I disconnect the perch here, which is just 4 nice bolts, then this whole piece of grass here, this is one large piece of artificial grass. This is the good stuff. It tends to come across or apart less, and it tends to, with this nice backing on it, tends to put up really well with power washers, which is exactly how I take care of the poo. So even slices, because the bird almost always faces outward. They look at me and I'm here at the computer behind it. They slice back into the wall. They poop back into this back area here. And I actually can move this perch forward and backwards, just depending on where I hook it in. And for different birds, I moved it back a bit for the Sharpie so that it would have more space out in front of it. But I have an extension over there for larger birds. And if those panels there are actually walls. Because with some birds, they get really spastic right before hunting. So with my Cooper's hawk, I used to have these walls up on the side to minimize the amount of stimuli that they were getting, and a roof. And I could actually use those hinges right there to close the whole thing like a giant hood when it was getting near hunting time. It would keep him a little bit calmer. But yeah, this whole thing can be taken outside. I just roll it up with the poop inside of it, take it out to the driveway, power up the power washer, and clean it. Let it dry. Bring it back here, down here for the bird. I have a couple of spare pieces of this that are smaller, like they just sit on the front, and then one strip that sits on the back that I use when I'm letting this dry. Usually, it only takes a few hours to dry in the sun. Hi, Kestrel. So yeah, this is my accipiter perch. I do use high quality AstroTurf. I really like this stuff for surfaces where your bird stands all the time. I think it's better. It's better than this stuff. I mean, this is good. I think this is way better than the old short blade grass stuff. The outside carpet, as they used to call it. That stuff was garbage. This isn't too bad. I don't mind if my bird stands on this. It's a pretty varied surface. It's not quite as good as this, but it's not bad. Anyway, this is it. It's adaptable. It works. It was fairly cheap to build. I just built a simple 2x4 table. Let me know what you think.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed getting a look at John's setup. It's a setup that works really well. Again, he has used it with a number of Coopers as well as this sharp-shinned. And it's, again, keep tabs on the length of the leash. Make sure the bird's safe, happy, sound, and clean, and you're good. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out John's channel. It's called Falcon's Ledge. He also has a TikTok account by that same name that shows updates with his bird. If you have any questions about this setup or any other ideas for indoor setups, feel free to message and comment down below. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. It really does help build this channel up. And as always, happy hawking.